And you know what? I airballed my picks yesterday for the Props Network. I taped them right before the basketball invite. I picked against my Detroit Pistons. They were getting 10 points against the Atlanta Hawks, and they lost by 8. And let's be real here. If you're an NBA diehard, it's hard right now. We're going to be wrong. The roster turnover is crazy right now. To keep up with these rotations, you need to be just watching 6 games a night, and that's not possible with college football bowl season, with the NFL kicking into high gear. But that's why I'm here. I'm a hoops junkie. I'm going to be mad about that pass for the rest of my life, and that's why I am paying attention like a hawk. Trae Young, John Collins, to all these NBA lines. So I'm going to be sharing my process every weekday out here on the Props Network with the bets I like. And this season being so weird, with us still getting a feeling for some certain teams, there's maybe a couple teams that are better than we expected. We have the Nets. There's a couple teams that are really surprising, like Orlando and Cleveland. And let's get into Cleveland right now. Cleveland, we thought they were tanking. We thought, oh, Kevin Love and Andre Drummond, they're just bad contracts. Darius Garland and Colin Sexton, they're just too undersized. And yeah, they got an athlete in the draft, but he's not doing much. You know, he doesn't fit in, but there's a great brand of basketball being played in Cleveland. If you haven't seen the Cavaliers, and they're playing the Knicks tonight, they are only 3.5-point favorites against the awful New York Knicks at home. And this is a team with everything to play for. Cleveland basketball is feeling the best it's felt since LeBron left town. We have maybe the best nickname in sports going at the moment. We have Darius Garland and Colin Sexton. They're getting called Sexland. If you're going to support anything in this world, support Sexland. And there's a lot of value in this line. With NBA lines, the number one rule is look at the schedule before you place a bet. So this year being weird, we're going to take out, if your team is involved on the end of a back-to-back, we are never betting on that team. The Cleveland Cavaliers, they're in the clear here. And the Knicks, they're without Obi Toppin for 7 to 10 days, probably more if it works out like the Knicks. I mean, reality treats them as bad as the movie Soul did. Like, that's a joke in a Pixar film, but it's about the par for the course if you want to measure how things play out. But 3.5 points. I think the Cavs, if we're going to give this team the credit they deserve, they might be better at Cleveland than New York at every single position. Andre Drummond, he's been dominant. He's playing the best basketball of his career, and he's adding in steals and blocks at an almost historic rate. Between him and Kevin Love, they're getting every single rebound in this game. This is the best rebounding team in the NBA. They have defensive intensity, and there's great ball movement. So if this team I thought they were the second worst team in the East, maybe the third worst team in the East, but it's a feat of basketball, and against a Knicks team that's still very much finding their identity after a very great win over Milwaukee. I will give them that. I will talk about that. But if you're just going to go off those lines, Cavs are a no-brainer here. They've shown me more. I continue to go against them, and maybe this is the time of the season where you will be convinced, because the way to make money on betting the NBA, teams tell you who they are very early. And in the case of the Cleveland Cavs, in the case of the Orlando Magic, it's on you whether or not to believe them. So I like the Cavs minus 3.5 points. Book it. And I talked about my Pistons a little bit. I was wrong on my Pistons last night. But it was probably a good thing for the franchise. Even though they lost, they did cover. They sat Blake Griffin and Derrick Rose last night in Atlanta because they were taking a private jet back home to Detroit, where the angry Golden State Warriors await them. Now, the Warriors, they've had an awful start to the season. They had to adjust to Klay Thompson's second big injury. Draymond Green is out. And if I'm the world's only Draymond Green fan, sometimes you lose weight and you get worse at basketball. I'm kind of going through the same thing now myself. I mean, I lost 25 pounds. My knees hurt all the time. What the heck is this? I lost this weight so my legs wouldn't hurt. Why are my legs hurting? It's not fair. Draymond, let's talk about it. But anyhow, we have the Pistons on the second night of a back-to-back. I know the Pistons are young, but this Warriors team with Steph Curry, with Andrew Wiggins, and with James Wiseman, who's just going to exist in that offense as a lob guy and be an extremely efficient offense, you gotta like the Warriors minus 3.5 here. And I know you're saying, Joel, but Blake Griffin and Derrick Rose didn't play last night, but hey, let's go him. Let's go for it. Blake Griffin's line for points scored is 19.5. Derrick Rose's line for points scored is 16.5. Why not take the over on both those player props? So you take the Warriors, you take the Blake Griffin over, and you take the Derrick Rose over. And Sam, my friend in the basement, is messaging me that this line moved to 4.5. Yeah, I still like it. It was 3.5 before. It's 4.5 now. I would maybe buy it to 4, get it to minus 120 odds. But at the end of the day, basketball, if a lot of the point spreads, if you'll notice, are odd numbers. 3.5 to 4.5, that doesn't scare me. I bumped my camera, sorry. But if it bumps from like 3.5 to 5, then I get scared. Look at these box scores every night. You're going to see finishes of around 5, 7, 9 points. And that's because a lot of free throw shooting becomes a big factor at the end of these games. I mean, your uncle who just barges in and says the last 2 minutes is the only thing that matters. I hate to admit this, but he's partially right. If you're betting, it's about the free throws at the end of the game more often than not. And that's why it's the hardest game to bet on, which is why you need to find this value. And I think the Warriors are that. I still think the Warriors are going to be a fringe playoff contending team. I don't know what happened with Draymond. I don't know how Andrew Wiggins went from being ripped to frail in about a 3-week span, but I like the Warriors. And the next one. So it's very, very, it's hard to pick games this early in the season because a lot of times we don't know who these teams are. And the NBA did give us one favor, though. They're putting teams in home and home a lot. So I tried this model with the Phoenix Suns and the Sacramento Kings. Spoiler alert, I like the Suns. I've been betting on them a lot this year to make success. But if a team, they lose the opening end of a head-to-head, the line will not value them in the second game, and you'll be able to take them there. The Boston Celtics, they lost to Indiana 2 days ago. They're hosting Indiana in the Garden tonight. It's a pick'em. It's a 1-point game. And even without Kemba Walker, even with Sabonis improving yet again, I'm still going with Boston here. Brad Stevens, he might not be there yet. It might take him a little bit of time to work in these rotation pieces. But with Kemba Walker out, a lot of people are discounting Boston. But over the past 5 years, I've seen Brad Stevens do his best work when injuries are forcing him to react to some sort of situation. And over the past few years, Boston's had 4 first-round picks in the last 2 seasons. They've got my favorite scoring young superstar in Jason Tatum. And they have Jaylen Brown, who I have a personal vendetta against. Jaylen, you got my emails. I know you did. It's a matter of life and death importance. I'm going to need you to respond to my DMs, dude. You're supposed to be this great guy. It's a matter of life and death. Not quite, but it's almost there. Jaylen, hit me up. That's a tangent. It's an intriguing tangent. TLDR, I'm trying to get a wrongfully convicted man out of jail. And somehow it's gotten put onto me that he needs a character witness. Jaylen Brown is that witness. And I've been trying for 4 months to get a hold of Jaylen Brown. And, while that may be making me a little bit angry, a little bit upset with the Celtics, I still think that if they play Indiana multiple times, it's a 50-50 game both times. They lost the first matchup, headed back to Boston. I'm going to like them in the tail end of that home and home. Easy as that. Maybe if you're scared of that, I don't have the line in front of me, and I'd rather engage with you directly. I want to make eye contact. I want to look into your basketball-loving soul. I could pull up that line, but you can blankly just take the Jason Tatum over for points here. And I wonder if on a game-to-game basis, it seems like Sabonis has improved. So if you guys are watching, I hope you do. Let's make a basketball journey together. Let's watch that Sabonis daily player props. So get on it. And my last pick, it's crazy that I feel like a game has so much at stake this early in the season. But we watched a lot of crazy things with the Milwaukee Bucks this past 6 months. We saw them give me my biggest gambling loss of my life. I chased it, so it wasn't much improved. We saw them sit out a playoff game and start one of the biggest protests in American sports history. How big of a year is 2020 that's like just another bullet point? And then we saw them restructure their franchise on the fly, potentially a year too late, to keep Giannis. And then ultimately Giannis stays. And I worry about Milwaukee this year. They're integrating so many new pieces. They still cannot generate looks. They brought in another defensive guy in Drew Holiday, Bogdanovich, who's going to be perfect for them. He's a creator. He dropped an awesome F-bomb in the Pistons game yesterday after traveling on a three-point attempt. So God bless him for that. But they're playing the Heat tonight. The Heat sent him home early last postseason. It was an embarrassment. It was a sign that maybe all is not right in Milwaukee. Maybe they're not forward thinking and optimizing their talent like other places, but they're playing Milwaukee tonight. It's in Milwaukee. They're 5.5-point favorites, and they're coming off a blowout loss to the Knicks. I don't love this. This scares me. I could well be wrong because we're betting against a pack of ravenous, tired, depleted, subjected to an unfair calendar that doesn't really take into account the limits of human physiology, but it's still a Miami Heat team that is a pack of pit bulls, but we're backing the Bucks against them tonight. And it's 5.5 points. It's bigger than I'd like, but when the Bucks win games, they don't win close games. The Bucks will beat you by 10, they'll beat you by 20, but they have a hard time beating you by 5 because when it gets close, Giannis isn't an ideal shot creator yet. Maybe they'd be better off running through Middleton at the end of the games. Maybe they have a lot of uncertainty in their rotations, but off a Knicks loss against the team that embarrassed you in front of the basketball world, this has to be a statement for the Milwaukee Bucks. If you want Giannis to be there, if you want him to reach his potential a little sooner than expected, because I don't think this is the year for Milwaukee, but I'd like Milwaukee to be the second best team in the East rather than the fifth. And I'm going to need to see a little bit from Giannis tonight. And I hope I do. I don't think the Heat are long-term contenders this year. I think they're forcing Dragic back early. I think they're older than you think. And I think if we're going to take Milwaukee seriously, they've got to win this one. So tonight I'm on the Bucks. I'm on the Cavs. The Cavs are the one I feel best about, to be honest with you. I'm on the Boston Celtics. And I am on... Who else am I on, Sam? I made some good points. Cavs, Boston, Milwaukee, and Golden State Warriors.
Golden State.
plus the Blake and Derrick Rose player props.
Yes, and you also took Jason Tatum, I believe, which I think was 25.5 was that number you were looking for.
Yeah, that's not one of my picks, but I just given the sort of year I expect from Jason Tatum, given that Kemba Walker's out, you can pencil that in every night for me.
Okay, I will. Now, what about the 10 o'clock slate? You got anything there?
Okay, so here's the deal. Here's my situation. I cashed out a little bit from my gambling account a few weeks ago, holiday season, and it's been impossible for me to get over $700 in that account. I end every NFL week at about $650. Thanks to Josh Allen, I am flush with fantasy winnings from yesterday. Thanks to Josh Allen, I'm up to $683. So I'm putting $25 on each of my 4 games. And if I hit on them, if I go 2-on-2 or even 3-on-4, there's a couple things I can talk myself into on the 10 o'clock slate. Now, I don't see a line for this, but the Timberwolves and the Clippers, they play tonight, and there's no line on it because Kawhi got injured by Serge Ibaka, his teammate, and in the following game, the Clippers got historically embarrassed. 77-27 versus the Mavs was the halftime score. It was a dark moment for the franchise. I think they're going to come back because they were playing really good basketball. It was just Kawhi's out. They used Paul George incorrectly. Things steamrolled. You're going to see a response against the bitch-ass Minnesota Timberwolves. And once that line's out, if it's under 7 with Kawhi, you jump on it. If it's, I think maybe you just back this money line either way.
I think we've got that line here, Joel, on the Props Network odds tracker. Yes, that is Clippers. It opened at 8. It is now Clippers minus 10 and 10.5 at some books.
Oh, wow. So that leads me to believe that Kawhi Leonard might be playing, just given that kind of line movement.
Yeah.
And I think there's better value. If you really want to place an NBA bet in the midnight hour, I think you can just turn your attention to Pelican Suns. The Pelicans are 3-point underdogs. The Suns have Chris Paul, and I think the Suns with Chris Paul with a pretty efficient attack, a team like the Pelicans should be handled by the Suns. And, maybe I like the Suns a little too much. Maybe they were struggling with the Kings a little bit too much, but 3 points for the home team when I think they've got a slight advantage in talent, I'm going to back that. I'm going to throw that on the television because that's a great matchup, actually. Zion Williamson, I know he gets all the buzz in the NBA. It's Zion, Zion, Zion. And he is skinny this year. He does look great. But Zion and Ayton in the same game, that's a treat. So if I'm breaking even, I'm throwing down on that. I am telling that Clippers game to go to hell because 10.5 is just too much when you don't know how someone's going to be reacting when they thought they were dying. So maybe that's just me. Those are my picks for the day. I feel like I did a good job guiding you guys along on the NBA journey. What do you think, Sammy? I know you're not a basketball guy, but are you going to be betting any of these?
Yeah, actually, I think that you made a really good case. I think I'm on that Warriors bet.
Yeah, the Warriors bet, it's a back-to-back against the tanking Pistons. They're going to have Blake fresh, but they're going to have D Rose fresh, but the Warriors, they've just played a really tough slate to open their season. Like, they're better than Detroit, and they're certainly better than Detroit when 83% of the team was coming off a back-to-back.
Now, which bowl game do I parlay that with tonight?
I think it's kind of a weak bowl slate tonight. It's the 29th. The ones I really like are tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So the bowl schedule for tonight, what do we got here? I know Oklahoma, Florida is tomorrow. I'm really excited about that. And today it's scrolling through.
There's nothing.
Oh, wow.
At our second college football playoff semifinal.
Shut the fuck up.
Number 3, Ohio State Buckeyes.
Yeah, okay. I think we got nothing.
No, today we have
Oklahoma State.
We have Miami versus Oklahoma State. Some data scientists told me they liked Miami here. And then the line in the Alamo Bowl, Texas and Colorado, has actually dropped to the point where you can buy Texas to under a touchdown for like minus 150.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the play. You do a money line, you tie it with, you do that and you tie it with the Cavs. You do that, you tie it with the Warriors. Everything's good.
If only we could get Josh Allen involved in this, then we'd be set.
Josh Allen deserves the day off.
Yeah.
For me to enter a fantasy title game with an 11% chance of winning and then having full confidence the entire game, it's a beautiful place to be. Thank you, Josh Allen. Thank you for showing me that fantasy football can indeed be fun. And it was. He won me the game. He left. What a world.
Well, why don't you tell the people, before you go, why don't you tell the people where they can find all the odds and track the line movement for their NBA betting tonight?
This ain't a website. This ain't a YouTube channel. This is an intersectional movement, Broham. Go to the Props Network. Check out our odds calculator. Check out our live line comparisons. Check out our future bet comparisons. There's nothing like it. And this YouTube situation hosted by charming young Joel Walkowski, the 31-year-old legend, featuring 5-time Emmy winner Jamoke Davis, Sports Illustrated Steve Clark, Eli Sayers, the world's best roast battler of all time. There's a lot to like here. And you know what? I think you're going to like the Props Network. If you're watching this, there's an entire site, an entire array of content. It's made for you. If there's something you want us to talk about, something you want us to analyze, hit me up. Twitter handle, The Walkowski, Insta, Joel Walkowski, or you can comment on any of the Props Network things, and my bosses will bring those to my attention. But yeah, I'm going to be doing these 4, maybe 5 times a week, and I'm going to give you guys my head. I'm going to give you my heart, and hopefully we're going to make bank over the season. It's 0-2 right now, but it's a long year, and we're in this together. So for the Props Network, for the NBA Daily Picks, and we need a name for this, right? If you have any ideas for names, if there's something about the center setting picks that you want to have me roll off my tongue, let me know. In the meantime, I'm Joe Walkowski for the Props Network. We've got a ton of great stuff coming out in the next 24 hours. Huge college football breakdown. I couldn't be more excited about it. We're recording tonight. We're giving Brian the week off because he got engaged. First time a Browns fan got a ring. But we're going to be going through all the bowl games with Eli Sayers. We're going to be making our matchups. We're going to be having a good friggin' time. And if you listen along, smash that subscribe button. Put thepropsnetwork.com into your URL bar, and you too will have a good time. This is Joel Walkowski for the Props Network, walking off.